Welcome to the first episode of Danny Talks. I recorded this episode a little bit ago, but I do want to say that this is going to be something on the channel that I can actually produce in a faster way. Instead of doing giant documentaries and stuff like that, I am able to make more content at a faster pace if I start doing Danny Talks. It's going to be my opinions on views and stuff like that. It can't be political. That's a rule I made in my creation of the channel, is that I wouldn't be political. But I do not think that old men or trans or anything like that is political. I think that's genuinely opinion based. Politics I see as like, oh fuck Joe Biden, stuff like that. That's politics. I'm not gonna be getting into that. I don't need anyone to know my political views, but this will be about issues in the fandom or anything like that. So, welcome to the first episode and enjoy. So, why exactly do people hate old men in the fandom and seemingly rush them out? I've heard and seen multiple people above the age of 30 be spit on and argued about whether they should be in the furry fandom at all. According to an article I read, 71% of sex offenders are under 35, and if you consider 40 to be old, not me, I'd say 60, then that means even less are convicted sex offenders. All these factors may not sway you, but the main point furries bring to the table is that old men might be sexual predators and that the furry fandom is super wholesome. And there's kids here, but let me give you a history check on where furries come from. The furry fandom has its roots in the underground comics movement of the 1970s, a genre of comic books that depicts explicit content. In 1976, a pair of cartoonists created the Amateur Press Association, Voodie, which was dedicated to animal-focused art. Many of its featured works contained adult themes, such as Omaha the Cat Dancer, which contained explicit sex. Voodie grew a small following over the next several years, and its contributors began meeting at a science fiction and comics conventions. According to the fandom historian Fred Patton, the concept of furry originated at a science fiction convention in 1980 when a character drawing from Steve Gallacci's Albedo Anthropomorphics started a discussion of anthro characters in science fiction novels. This led to the formation of a discussion group that met at science fiction conventions and comic conventions. Though some people look to things like Kimba the White Lion, Watership Down, or Disney's Robin Hood to be the main source of inspiration, one of, if not the first X-rated movie ever, was Fritz the Cat, a trippy drug and sex-filled comedy created by Robert Crumb. I've seen the movie and holy shit, the 70s were fucking wild. Even so, this coincided with the recent creation of idea of furries, which I personally believe to be the reason for the awakening of coining the term of furries. Being turned on by anthro animals defined as a human-like animal, therefore distinguishing itself from ferals, is a massive part of the community, and Fritz the Cat definitely sparked that first need for socializing with other furries. Revisiting the old men debate, it seems like children or minors being in the fandom started way later, like early to late 2000s later. The uneasy access of the internet had been more widespread, and knowing how kids are these days, the fandom must have opened up to include everyone, considering there were still innocent parts of the fandom kids could go. SFW creators still existed, and fursuits were more commonly being made. Not to mention chat rooms exist that kids can go into, and the big leak of info about furries had been shared, thus creating a more open fandom. This fandom was made by 20 to 40 year olds originally, but one of the OG creators of the fandom was born in the 1950s, making him in his 70s today. The furry fandom may have been created by younger men, but the original creators are basically the old men that kids and people concerned for the safety of kids want to kick out. This is a big issue even I had to face at one point, where I was scared of letting older men in my server because I was young and it was a 13+ server. Now, kids are dumb, I know I was, but I know the people saying kick the older men out of the fandom are mostly idiots, but to ease the rest of you who are ageist against old men in the fandom, let them be. There may be sex offenders or bad people out there, but that's how it is in every fandom, at any age. The actual average age for sex offenders is age 14, due to it still being considered as sex offending if one minor and another minor has sex. Even so, I think that older men have a massively better way of representing the fandom than children do, as they're some of the sweetest people you can meet, like an old man and his mature daughter playing VR chat together, or my bud Beretta having this wonderful laugh and playful energy, always loving every second of his life and not engaging in any sexual content. This fandom was created by now old men, and they're here to stay. We are forced to let kids in nowadays, whether it's safe or not, so the least we can do is not say all old men are immediately pedophiles, and actually enjoy our time. Thank you for hearing my opinion. Have a good night, Furs.